This is the weekly forecast starting from Sunday, October 12th, 2025 through Saturday, October 18th. And this is the last week of having Jupiter in Gemini, closing out some major lessons that began around June of this year. But we're not done because it's actually going to continue all the way until mid 2026. But we have a bit of a shift coming up on this Saturday we'll talk about. It's a big shift, especially affecting relationships, a sense of growth, possibility, abundance in our lives, and bringing more clarity around decision making. So this should be a very positive shift for all of us. And I'm going to talk about how this affects all of us in general in this episode. If you're new to me, find your free birth chart at quietmindastrology.com. That's where you can also schedule a reading and sign up for the upcoming workshop about relationship astrology that is on October 20th on Monday. So if you want to learn more about that, it's all on the website. So right now, the big picture where we're starting this week from October 12th is we've got Saturn in Pisces started this year, Rahu in Aquarius, and Ketu in Leo started this year. So we've seen a lot of shifts this year towards going beyond the limits of what we perceive and changing our relationship to power, leadership, control. These are big themes going on all year, but it's especially interesting this week because Pluto moves direct, and that's the first big transit that's happening on the 14th. And we can see that if you're watching the video, that Pluto in Capricorn moved direct. So Pluto's been retrograde for a while, going back into the subconscious, into the depths of our inner work to uproot and shake up some things in our foundation. So like for me personally, I've shared about finding new progress on finding my paternal lineage and my birth father, which I've had very little progress on for a long time. But some major movements have happened during this Pluto retrograde in Capricorn, which is about, again, shaking up, going back to things of the past, shaking up your foundation. And for you, this could be new, deep inner work coming up to the surface, unresolved stuff from the past. Pluto can represent the unconscious and the things that are sort of in the basement, metaphorically. If you ever have dreams about the basement, sometimes this can symbolize going into your subconscious and into things that maybe have been repressed or withheld somehow from your conscious awareness, probably for a good reason. But through that retrograde, maybe some of that stuff started to stir up and shake up that foundation for you to have things to work with. Because as long as we're alive, there's always deep personal work to do and growth to be done. And that's part of the main drives of this podcast, is to help us do that inner work and understand the energies at play. And Pluto going direct now allows us to move forward. So for example, if there is an unresolved samskara, a wound or a trauma or pain of the past that left a scar, you could say, metaphorically or energetically, now this can heal and we can learn from it and we can grow from it as Pluto goes direct over the next few months. So this could be a time of healing unconscious patterns. And a lot of times these things might not seem important, or I've talked to people sometimes, they're like, I don't want to go to therapy. I don't want to like dig up the past. And I say, well, that's fine, but how are your relationships and how is your work and how is your money situation? Like the past shows up in the present when we have blocks in the present moment in our current reality. So I agree. We shouldn't just like focus all on the past and just get stuck there and not move forward. But when we try to move forward and we get stuck, then it's a good time to explore what maybe in the past has got us to that point. And a lot of times Pluto can represent that work. And in Capricorn, it represents going deep into that stuff. And for everybody, it's there for a long time still, 15 more years of Pluto in Capricorn. So a lot of opportunities for healing deep subconscious stuff over a long stretch still. This started in 2020, and it affects on a global scale of bringing issues of structures to the surface and shaking up structures in society. And it's an energy that was there 250 years ago during the American and French Revolution. So it's revolutionizing a lot of society. Pluto in Capricorn Whenever Pluto is in a sign and it returns to that sign, that's the Pluto return. It takes about 250 years. And a lot of world powers, world leaders, civilizations have around a 250-year cycle where they go through dramatic changes and sometimes fall after around 250 years when that Pluto return happens. So that's happening right now for the US and for France. So it's an interesting time to see how this unfolds, and it's still got 15 more years, but a lot of change up to the structures of society. But again, on a personal level, very good time to be doing your inner work, therapy, meditation, yoga, spiritual practices, astrology, whatever that is for you. So all of that's happening this week. Moving forward now on things from the past with Pluto going direct. And then the next big transit, also relevant to relationships, is on the 17th when Sun moves into Libra. And this happens every year, of course. Sun is considered debilitated in Libra. And this means that Sun, which wants to be where we have our power, our sense of authority, our leadership, our control, needs to be diplomatic and compromising and yielding in Libra. So it's here for a month, as it is Sun in every sign. So from this time of mid-October to mid-November is the time to find more compromise, more compassion, more understanding, more curiosity in relationships. To not be controlling, but to be compassionate. To not need to be the one making all the decisions, but to be diplomatic and finding what is fair and balanced for everybody involved. So people who have this in their birth chart, having a birthday coming up over the next month, these people tend to do very well as team organizers, team leaders, collaborators, people who make decisions in a way like a scale would of what's fair, what's balanced, not just what I want. That's where is in Aries, and that can become like very controlling, but it's very good entrepreneur energy, very good leadership energy when Sun is in Aries back in 6 months ago. But now with Sun in Libra, this is the opposite. So it's about compromise, collaboration, teamwork. And if there is a place where your ego is in control or trying to make all the decisions, it's a very humbling energy. So debilitations are not necessarily bad, but it is finding what is the potential of this that can be expressed in a positive way. What can we do with this energy? So, a very good time for doing things collaboratively, working on teams, finding support for yourself, asking for help, not trying to do it all yourself, delegating. Maybe it's a time where you want to look at your schedule and maybe it makes sense for you to hire somebody to do house cleaning for you. Or maybe it makes sense for you to have your groceries delivered rather than go to the grocery store. These kind of things where you're not just doing everything yourself. It's more collaborative, it's more teamwork. And there may be a need to discuss some things to find what's more fair and balanced in the workplace, in the relationships, in any sort of contract or collaboration, marriage, business partnership, where there is more than one person involved in making decisions. And it needs to be negotiated how those decisions are made diplomatically and fairly. So this, especially with Sun and Mercury together here at the beginning of this, there could need to be some communication to talk about these issues and resolve these things. With Mars being with it as well, this can be a bit of an aggressive tone to it or a bit of a charge to it. So it's very important to just be centered when you go into these potentially charged conversations and to be aware of your nervous system triggers and responses as best you can. Do you tend to be more fight, flight, freeze response, or fawn? When you get triggered, when you feel like a strong reaction in your body, knowing how you respond and then knowing how to manage that and maybe taking deeper breaths or going slower or practicing what you're going to say, rehearsing what you're going to say. I love the show The Rehearsal, if you've never seen it, with Nathan Fielder on HBO. Basically, he like rehearses important life decisions. It's very funny. I love it. But that's something, when this kind of energy, when there's a debilitation, I think of it as a time to like slow down in that thing and put a little more thought and intention to it, because the energy might not be directed well or might not be coming out as you intend. So Sun in Libra is a time to maybe you want to rehearse or think about or write down what you want to say. If it's like a charge thing, because Mars is here. So if it's like a charge thing that could trigger you or trigger somebody else, it's a good idea to slow down and weigh your words like a scale and consider what you want to say. But overall, over the next month, major opportunities for growth through relationships. This is why I'm hosting the Relationship Astrology workshop on Monday, October 20th. This is free. It's going to be awesome. We're going to talk about important things to look for in relationships, like what leads to compatibility. These questions I get all the time. What to look at in synastry of two charts, and how to bring out the strengths of the relationship and work with the challenges of any relationship, which could be a spouse, family member, child, parent, business partner, any relationship. Any two charts has a relationship. So you can look at synastry of any two charts. And this can help you understand, again, what you're working with so you have more awareness and not just using like the point system. The Ashtakut is commonly used in India. I find that in real world practical application of like, okay, what can I do with this information? The synastry things I'm going to teach at the workshop are more effective than the point system, where you can look up like you in another chart and, okay, you've got like 19 points or 25 points. What does that mean? And how do you really apply that and work with it? There's really not so much in that particular system and method. But in what I'm sharing at the workshop, it's much more applicable in like, okay, so you have this strength, they have this strength, you bring out this in them, they bring out that with you. This is part of the karma of your connection, whether it be a short friendship, a short dating relationship, a long-term marriage, a long-term business partner, whatever it is, a child, parent, family member. Really cool stuff, really fun. And that's all like that's Sun and Libra at its best of like, okay, how do we look at the situation and bring out the best of it? And how does it become like a win-win-win situation, not just like a win-lose situation or just needing to be in control or be right. And then the next big, well, there's a very big one. And so the next transit of this week is Jupiter moving into Cancer. And that's a very big one. So that is on Saturday, October 18th. But it's just there for a few weeks, and then we have Jupiter go retrograde and back to Gemini, and then Jupiter will return to Cancer in mid 2026. So this is a little preview of 2026. But overall, it is quite a harmonious, beautiful, lovely energy that can bring about expansion of finances, expansion of warmth in your heart, and love and connection in your life. An example of somebody who has this, just in the mentorship program today, we were looking at the chart of Denzel Washington, who has Jupiter and Cancer in his birth chart, and he's very much a family man. He also has Saturn exalted in Libra, which is very good for marriage and family as well. And these things are not easy. Just because he has these positive things doesn't mean that relationships and family are the easiest thing. There's always challenges in every path we take. But when you have Jupiter in Cancer, it brings more support, more ease, more abundance, more growth, more optimism, more of like the kind of wisdom that you want to have that can make a relationship really work, that can make you express your love and your heart and affection in a really beautiful way. Very good for being a father or mother or parent, to having children. It's a very beautiful energy, Jupiter in Cancer, so much so that I will have a special guide just about this coming out soon. But just to say now, you can start to prepare for this coming up on Saturday by closing out the energies of Jupiter and Gemini of so far of this chapter of what have you learned throughout the summer and fall, if you're in the northern hemisphere, over basically the past few months with Jupiter and Gemini. That can be a challenging placement in general. Some placements are generally more auspicious, some are generally more inauspicious. Jupiter and Gemini is a more dissonant energy because Jupiter is the wisdom of the guru, the wise spiritual guide. Gemini is the intelligence of the person who has studied a subject in depth and knows it inside and out. That's more in the head. The Jupiter wisdom is more sort of in the ethers. It's like when a mystic talks, or if you've ever been around a guru or a spiritual teacher, or a little more grounded, somebody like Thich Nhat Hanh, is a sort of reverence to him, that naturally follows him, and a sort of peace and wisdom to his words, or the Dalai Lama or Sadhguru or these kind of people, whether you resonate with them or whatever you think of them, they are more in this frequency of the Jupiter energy. And, whatever guru or teacher you resonate with, a mystic, sadhu, whatever, this is more of the Jupiter energy. Mercury, the Gemini kind of energy, is more intelligence, like a professor or teacher or scientist, somebody who is really dove deep into their field, and they know all the books and they know all the subject and they know the topic really well. And that's the same with astrology. Like we could look at this like, Jupiter is at this degree and aspecting this and just focus on the technical pieces of it. But there's a wisdom that we get from astrology as well that's not always so logical. And modern science kind of struggles to catch up, and then sometimes it does. And then we get these cool discoveries in things that have been around for thousands of years. But with Jupiter finishing its time in Gemini, there could be this dissonance you felt between your wisdom and your intelligence, your calling and what you think you should do, what is right. It's like not so clear. There's maybe a bit difficulty making decisions over the past few months, some kind of push pull energy, not fully sure if this is the right path. A lot of expansion of technology and AI has happened over the last few years, of course, and has led to a lot of like fear and uncertainty in the world around how that will affect the market and jobs and everything else. As Jupiter lands in Cancer now, it's much more peaceful. It's more kapha energy, grounding earth energy. Jupiter in Gemini is more of like this air, ether energy. It's vata. It's too many ideas. It's spacey. It's overwhelming. It's bringing you in the sympathetic nervous system state more easily, more often. And I personally have experienced more anxiety over the past few months than ever in my life. And that's one of the factors that may have been contributing to it. Of course, it's always personal lifestyle choices and actions and things we're going through and our own experience that really shapes our reality the most. But there's this external force like the weather that has an impact on us, but it's not the ultimate determinant of how we feel and what we experience. But over the past few months, you may have felt more anxiety, more fear, more uncertainty, more unsettled, more indecision. On the positive side, it could be a time where there's an explosion of ideas and explosion of creativity and massive potential, but it's almost like too much and overwhelming. And like, what do I do with all this potential? Jupiter lands in Cancer now on this Saturday, the 18th, to say, okay, well, here's a path, and come back to your heart, come back to what grounds you, what nourishes you, the foods that nourish you, the lifestyle routines that nourish you. Maybe it's time to turn off the notifications on your phone or delete some of the social media apps or spend less time scrolling on your phone. That's all Jupiter and Gemini stuff. It's like a lot. And we're going to go back to that energy. So, this Jupiter and Cancer respite could be an opportunity to ground, recenter, reconnect to your heart, what you value, slow things down a bit. So, in actual lifestyle choices, especially if you're in the northern hemisphere as you're going to autumn, this is the time to really pacify vata. So, more root vegetables, warm, grounding activities, putting oil on your skin, almost like a shield. I'm a vata type by birth, so I really benefit a lot and feel much better when I do the Abhyanga. It's just basically rubbing oil on your whole body in the morning. And think of it kind of like putting on a shield in a healthy way, like not like protect myself, but more like it adds this barrier where I feel like almost like I'm in a blanket. It's like comforting for me as a Vata type. That's if you're a Kapha type, your skin already tends to be more oily, so that might not be as beneficial for you. But there are some oils that could work for Kapha as well. You could be Kapha and have Vata skin, so that might benefit you as well. But by the way, if you're curious about Ayurveda, I do have a yoga and Ayurveda mentorship that is open for enrollment over the next week. So that's where I go into all the things I share about yoga and Ayurveda in support of the astrology stuff. So, kind of two branches. Astrology is knowing the chart and the lifestyle and the big energies. Ayurveda and yoga are more the embodiment of it and the practices you do and the lifestyle choices and working with the energies with your diet, your sleep, your exercise, hydration, what's best for your dosha, your body type, things like the chakras, working with different styles of yoga, yin, gentle, hatha, vinyasa. We cover a lot in that program. So you can check that out at the link in the show notes or quietmind.yoga/mentorship if you're interested in that program. But for everyone, again, Jupiter in Cancer, overall an auspicious energy. I have more to say about it, and I will have a special episode and guide just for this. But just to know for now, we're closing out the Jupiter and Gemini of this chapter. So if there's been some indecision, uncertainty, overwhelm, this is a time to bring some closure to that. Maybe there's some important decisions you need to make a final choice about. Maybe there's some apps you need to delete on your phone, some habits you need to let go of that were increasing anxiety or overwhelm that are no longer needed, and find more grounding in yourself, in your body, your lifestyle, your routines, regular sleep and wake times if you can, morning sunlight, these essential things, walking around 7 to 10,000 steps a day if you can. Generally, these are just massive boosts to health that are free, not necessarily easy, but they are simple. Depending on your life circumstances, they might be more challenging for you to do at this time, and maybe you just focus on one. But those are all things you can do to work with this more grounded energy that Jupiter and Cancer can bring us, which can feel very warm and comforting if we work with it. If we work against it, Jupiter and Cancer could have a difficult side of getting too emotional, getting sort of sucked into the kapha energy and becoming apathetic, lazy, tired, heavy, dull, dense, not as sharp mentally, too relaxed. Kind of that thing like, Thanksgiving in the US after a big meal and you just like can't think anymore. And that kind of food coma, that kind of energy could happen with Jupiter and Cancer. It's less likely to happen because it's generally just a very auspicious energy overall. But staying sharp. So if you start to feel a little bit dull or apathetic or tired, heavy, you need more pitta energy, more fire. That's like hatha, vinyasa, yoga, spicy foods, stimulants. If those work for you, I do not like stimulants. They don't work for me. That just makes me anxious. So I don't recommend them if you're Vata type generally. But if you're a kapha type, stimulants can be very helpful, like coffee, chocolate, caffeine, things like this. But that's the potential pitfall of Jupiter in Cancer to be aware of. And those are the major transits happening this week. Again, Pluto direct in Capricorn, starting a new several month cycle of going forward on uncovering subconscious patterns and beliefs, starting on Tuesday, October 14th. Sun in Libra, bringing major opportunities to grow and collaborate through relationship dynamics on Friday, the 17th. And then Jupiter in Cancer on Saturday, the 18th. Overall, very positive energy, bringing more grounding, heart connection, fulfillment in what you love, coming back to your heart in so many ways, metaphorically and literally. And we'll talk about this more in the free guide coming out soon for that with Jupiter in Cancer. And if you enjoyed this episode and you want to support this work, just check out my free workshop. I love doing these free workshops. They're super fun for me. And I love collaborating, connecting with everyone there. This is a positive way to work with the Sun in Libra. Get in collaboration and community. Get on the Zoom call, connect with us. Jupiter in Cancer, it's about learning about relationships. So we're going into a really powerful time for learning and healing relationship karma. So we want to work with that energy now. And I hosted this workshop back in earlier in 2025, and it was super popular, super fun, and I'm excited to share it again here. So check it out, quietmindastrology.com/relationships to join that one, or the link in the show notes. And again, the Yoga and Ayurveda mentorship is open over the next week if you want to join us and start this cohort where we're going to go deep into all things yoga and Ayurveda. This is the embodiment and lifestyle stuff. Like, how do you work with pains in the body, which we all have. Right now, there's pains in your body that are just going to sit there and eventually get worse if we don't do something about it, which I've experienced many times. You probably have as well. Most people have low back pain. 90% of people will experience it. The number one cause of death in the US is still preventable heart disease, which can be prevented by lifestyle choices and the kind of things that we do in the Yoga and Ayurveda mentorship to increase lifespan and overall health. And it's the sister science. So typically in India and traditionally, you would learn yoga, Jyotish, and Ayurveda all together because they give you a complete system of understanding mind, body, and spirit. And that's what we do in that program. And then again, the relationships coming up on the 20th. So thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Look forward to sharing more with you next time on the Quiet Mind Astrology Podcast.